Things are starting to look a whole lot better for Bitcoin. And in this video, we're going to take a look at both the good and the bad of Bitcoin. If you've been following my update videos, you'd know that I've been long on Bitcoin since about 84,000. And there's obviously specific reasons for that. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is this very obvious trend line that we've established right here. Not only am I waiting for Bitcoin to break above this trend line and continue its momentum to the upside, but I think it's pretty much necessary. I mean, have a look at the liquidation heat map. We have so much liquidity resting at right around 110,000. As traders, we're all taught the same thing, and that is to long and short trend line. There are millions of traders that shorted this retest and this one. And I can almost guarantee that we'll have even more traders that are going to be shorting Bitcoin as soon as we hit the trend line for the third time. But I'm viewing this as an opportunity because, again, that creates so much liquidity at these highs, and it's almost inevitable that Bitcoin is going to liquidate all of them. Let's have a look at history. I mean, earlier this year, we saw nearly the exact same pattern before another massive move to the upside. We had formed quite a long trend line here after the bear market of about negative 33%. And again, once price finally broke through that trend line around April, well, then we saw a massive move to the upside. We saw the same thing in July and September of 2024. We had a trend line with two retests, and the third one, well, that was a breakthrough before a massive move higher. And guess what? We saw the exact same thing in September of 2023. We had a trend line with two retests, and on the third one, we broke through and we had a massive move to the upside. So again, according to history and the liquidation heat map, this third retest is going to be the one that breaks through and liquidates all the stop orders resting at these highs. Another thing I want to mention is the beautiful structure that Bitcoin is currently forming. We are finally seeing those lower highs being printed and hopefully the higher highs following. Now, my next point of interest for price is the middle of the range, drawing it from this high all the way down to this low. I want to see a breakthrough above the middle point of the range, because if that happens, well, then chances are we are going to continue higher. What most traders do not pay attention to is the dollar index, because right now it is at a critical resistance level. This is a multi-week resistance level, and we have just retested this for the third time, and we're seeing a very nice reaction. Now, if we look at Bitcoin here, we are currently at a multi-week support where we obviously have seen quite a nice relief rally. This aligns perfectly, okay? The weaker the dollar, the stronger the Bitcoin. This is Jerry, and Jerry likes to put his money in places where it can grow. Right now, he's confused. Do he keep his money in fiat, or does he convert it into Bitcoin? Here's exactly what people like Jerry thinks. If the dollar is performing well, then he would rather hold currency. However, the moment the dollar starts to perform worse, loses its value, and basically weakens, people like Jerry would rather hold Bitcoin. And right now, well, the dollar starts to look weaker and weaker by the day. And it's about to get even worse because we have an 89.2% chance of a 25 base point rate cut December 10th. At the time of this recording, it is December 4th, so that means in 6 days, we are likely going to see a 25 base point rate cut. Now, rate cuts are not positive for currencies, okay? They make them even weaker. But what I really find interesting is the price action through 2020. So in 2018, we have quite the Bitcoin sell-off, and then we saw this recovery leg. What came right after was quantitative tightening ending. Then we saw some consolidation here until we saw quantitative easing starting, and that's exactly what made this 2020 bull run go parabolic. If we now compare this to the current price action, right, we've just seen a massive Bitcoin sell-off, and now we've just gotten the quantitative tightening ending. So if history is going to repeat, well, then we're likely going to see Bitcoin consolidate a little bit until quantitative easing begins, and then perhaps a massive bull run in 2026. Now, what is quantitative tightening, or QT, that just ended? It is a monetary policy where a central bank reduces the money supply by shrinking its balance sheet. Now, what is quantitative easing, or QE? The exact thing that started the 2020 bull run. It is a monetary policy tool where a central bank buys financial assets like government or corporate bonds to inject money into the economy and lower long-term interest rates. Now let's ask ChatGPT, is there a chance that we are going to see a QE in 2026? Good question. The short answer is yes, there's a meaningful chance that we could see some sort of renewed QE or at least balance sheet expansion in 2026, though it will heavily depend on economic and liquidity conditions. Now, if that does happen, well, then we could basically see the largest bull run to date in 2026. There's another very interesting thing that I want you to look at, and it's basically using traditional volume that we're all familiar with. Pay attention to what happened during all the bottoms. Let's start at 2018. When the market formed the bottom in December, November of 2018, we had a massive volume spike. The same exact thing happened in 2020 when we bottomed in right before the massive bull run. In 2022, it was slightly lower, but we still had 3 aggressive volume spikes. However, right now, we haven't really seen that yet. And that's a little bit concerning. What I'm waiting for is additional volume spikes to confirm that this right here is indeed the bottom. Again, is it necessary? No, absolutely not. I mean, have a look in August of 2024. We bottomed in and volume didn't really follow. So no, it's not a necessity, but it would be nice to see. Now for Ethereum is starting to perform very, very well here on the weekly time frame. We're up about 26% from the bottom. Now there's something I find very interesting, and that is this bullish RSI divergence that you're seeing here. That basically means that the RSI has swept a low that the real price action has not. That's what we call a bullish divergence, and it's one of the things that happens right before a massive, massive expansion. In other words, the dollar is getting weaker, and it's about to get even worse with the rate cuts. Quantitative tightening ended 3 days ago, and Bitcoin is starting to perform better. Don't worry, this is the accumulation phase. This is exactly when you should be buying. Let's have a look at the global liquidity cycle. It comes in different phases, and right now, well, it's time to buy. We are in a great phase of the current global liquidity cycle. In fact, the best position that we could possibly be in. So guys, don't worry. All you have to do is view it as an opportunity and make sure to like and subscribe for more content.